Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. It is 7 o'clock and we now have less than a week to go until the first deadline of the summer. Everybody can do deals, but Chelsea and Manchester City have special reason to be busy as they prepare for the Club World Cup. Well, Jack Grealish isn't likely to be part of it, though. He cost City £100 million, but he's well out of the picture. So is he on the move this summer? We'll take a look at how Pep might reshape his squad. Manchester United are trying to fast-track their summer rebuild with two early signings. Stand by for the latest on their pursuit of Bryan Mbeumo as Ruben Amorim gets busy. And it's welcome back to the Premier League for Leeds, Burnley and Sunderland. But how do they break the cycle of promoted clubs going straight back down? We'll take a look at their respective transfer policies in a pretty busy show. So that's why we've got James Green and Mark McAdam with us this evening, because they can handle the pace. Right, Jack Grealish.
I lost my pace years ago.
Let's talk Jack Grealish, Mark. What happens to Jack?
Yeah, it's a sorry situation, isn't it? This is a superstar. You know, someone that was so good for Aston Villa, someone that was so influential at times for Manchester City, the first £100 million Premier League player. And it's just gone pear-shaped at Manchester City over the course of, the last season, maybe 2 seasons. We've had some breaking news over the last couple of hours with regards to potentially an insight into what may happen with regards Jack Grealish this summer. As it stands, now things could change, of course, he's not going to be going to the Club World Cup with Manchester City, who are one of 2 Premier League sides involved in this new FIFA tournament. Of course, that could change depending on outgoings and injuries. He has 2 years left on his current Manchester City deal. As far as the player's concerned, he wants to fight for his place. He wants to say, I want to be at Man City, I want to be in that team, I want to go to the Club World Cup, I want to continue doing what I've done so well.
Yeah, but if you don't make that 35-man squad for the Club World Cup, the writing's on the wall, let's be honest.
Of course, and that's probably where you're going to lead me. Pep Guardiola hasn't used Jack Grealish over the course of the last few weeks and months. He's been a bit-part player at best. He's not been playing his best football. He's not been terrorising defences like he did at certain points, and certainly when he was at Aston Villa. Our understanding is that Manchester City would potentially consider offers for Jack Grealish. Like we said, they spent £100 million on him. The other big issue is he's on huge money with regard to his wages. So once again, like we seem to be saying so much at the moment, that will limit the amount of clubs that can come to the transfer table and say, we'd like to take you. It may be one of those things where Marcus Rashford on loan to Aston Villa. Could we see something similar happen to Jack Grealish, maybe later on in the window, not in this mini window, and that could be where we see the movement. But yeah, big story, big interesting development today, and of course someone that is such an iconic Premier League player seems to be lost.
You say seems to be lost. I mean, there were certainly moments this season. There was a lot of pressure. Pep Guardiola asked numerous times in press conferences about Jack Grealish, why he's not being used, why he's an unused substitute. I think the cameras were constantly panning on to Jack Grealish on the substitutes bench. He turned up every single time. He represented England really well when he got moved into that middle area of the pitch. It looked like, maybe he's going to find some form. But Pep Guardiola seemed to always pick somebody else to come off the bench and not Jack Grealish. But if we do look at the last 4 seasons since his move to Manchester City, I would say probably, apart from maybe the second season when City won the treble, it's been quite underwhelming.
Yeah, well, let's look at those numbers then, please, because 4 seasons, treble year aside, has it all been a bit of a struggle?
It has been a struggle. I think at the start it was a bit of a struggle. It felt like he struggled to fit into maybe Manchester City's way of playing, Pep Guardiola's way of playing in particular. I mean, you can see there just 39 appearances in his first season. The second season, the treble winning, look, he appeared 50 times. He was a key part of that side. The assists, I think, were most important. He was so creative in that season. And it's just dropped off the last couple of seasons. And in the last couple of seasons, I know 2 seasons ago, a few injury problems, but just 20 Premier League appearances, just 20 Premier League appearances last season too. It's just not working. But he's 29 years old, Mike. He's got still plenty to give and a World Cup on the horizon. If that isn't motivation for a player, Mark, that missed out on the European Championship, he was devastated to miss out on that. He really wanted to be a part of that squad. He's now got an opportunity at the World Cup on the horizon. I'm sure he's sitting there now today, probably questioning, OK, what next? What do I need to go? What opportunities
my next
are
question,
out there?
what next?
Well, like we've already said, I think financially things will dictate a lot of where he could potentially go. Manchester City may have to do a little bit of the heavy lifting with regards to his wages. It's not something that's uncommon. We've seen it with the likes of Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling, where their parent club says, OK, we can't get what we want for you, but we're willing to pay a chunk of your wages to try and grease the wheels of a possible deal. That may happen. But at the minute, Manchester City are in a position where they can say, well, we've still got a long chunk of the summer. We don't have to accept the first offer that comes on the table. We can wait and see how things go. We can let Jack look at the situation. And as we said at the start of the show, you know, things change quickly in football. You know, 1 or 2 injuries. There is a mini window during the Club World Cup where after the group stages, sides can re-sign and reshape their squad. Now, maybe if they get 2 or 3 injuries to certain key areas in those group games and Man City progress, they could say, actually, Jack, we need you. You're going to come out to America and be a part of this squad. He's still a player that offers so much. He's got so much ability, so much potential still, I feel, as well. He can get better. He's only 29. He's the type of player, as we've seen, that can transform the game in a heartbeat.
Maverick.
And when you've got one of those players in your team and in your squad, and we've seen it for England, how many times has he come off the bench for Gareth Southgate and transformed the outcome of a match? He can still do that. He's still got that in his locker. So, yeah, I think there'll be a lot of teams queuing up for him. But it will be about one thing, which is what we seem to be talking about all the time at the moment, finance.
Exactly. All right, so we'll see what happens with Jack, but City getting busy anyway today. Tell us more, James.
Yeah, deal's been agreed with Tijani Reinders, £46.3 million. This player's joining on a 5-year contract. We've been talking about him now probably for the last week. 26-year-old midfielder from AC Milan, Netherlands international, Syria, midfielder of the year last year. He's one of those players that he likes receiving the ball, he likes passing the ball, he likes running with the ball. He's got a bit of everything, and they need that, Manchester City, with that hole left by Kevin De Bruyne. This feels like an interesting signing.
Well, they need legs. Tell us more, James.
Yeah, deal's been agreed with Tijani Reinders, £46.3 million. This player's joining on a 5-year contract. We've been talking about him now probably for the last week. 26-year-old midfielder from AC Milan, Netherlands international, Syria, midfielder of the year last year. He's one of those players that he likes receiving the ball, he likes passing the ball, he likes running with the ball. He's got a bit of everything, and they need that, Manchester City, with that hole left by Kevin De Bruyne. This feels like an interesting signing.
Well, they need legs in midfield.
They need legs.
They need fresh legs.
Absolutely do. And to make this signing now, obviously, deal agreed at this point. It's not official yet, but we're expecting an announcement very soon, certainly before the 10th of June deadline, so he can play in the Club World Cup. And I think it's just a sign that Manchester City are being aggressive in the transfer market. It was Chairman Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, last week was talking about it, saying we need to be more aggressive, because last summer he was quite critical. Pep Guardiola was critical, saying that we sat back a little bit last summer. Well, they're not sitting back now. They weren't sitting back in January. We shouldn't forget the amount of money spent. In January, the likes of Nico Gonzalez, Kusanov came in, Omar Mamouche came in. Reece came in as well. So they're spending a lot of money, and it seems like they're attacking this window straight from the off too.
Pep's been playing centre-backs at left-back, but is that going to change?
I think so, and I think it will change before the Club World Cup as well. Little bit of news coming out this afternoon. We know that Manchester City wants a left-back, and they've identified Raid Ait-Nouri at Wolves as potentially the man that could solve their left-sided problems. We also know there was an interest in Milos Kerkez, but that wasn't pursued. It's important to point out there's been no verbal contact between Manchester City and Wolves at the moment for the 23-year-old who has 1 year left on his contract, but with an option, a club option, second year. It's expected this deal could cost Manchester City around £50 million and upwards, which isn't unfamiliar territory for them. What did they pay for Kyle Walker all those years ago? £50 million.
And on the other side, they paid £50 million.
That's exactly what they pay for fullback. So, yeah, that would ring true. Their first game in the Club World Cup, you'll know, Mike, 18th of June, and that's in Philadelphia. You'll also know where they're based over the course of the Club World Cup, because you've got a holiday home there in Florida.
Have I now? Listen, Pep didn't say too long ago, did he, that if he doesn't get a smaller squad, he's off because he hates leaving players at home on match days. If that's the case, who on earth is going to have to go?
I think there'll be multiple players that will be looking at the exit. Let's be honest, Pep Guardiola is ruthless.
Yeah.
And if you're not in his plans, i.e. possibly Jack Grealish, he's not scared to let you know. And I think the writing's on the wall for him, and certainly with other players as well. So they'll be looking financially at where they can make a little bit of money. But I think we will see a big number of outgoing players at Manchester City. But like any club that gets their business done early and sensibly, it's about who they sign and recruit to build that squad, and then they'll start letting players go. That's the way that professional clubs operate. Get them in and then let them go.
Yeah. And Mike, I think Manchester City and Pep Guardiola will want to see more from his players. It was a disappointing season, quite frankly, and we look at a couple of players. We've mentioned Jack Grealish, Phil Foden really dropped off last season. I think his last 90 minutes was all the way back in February. Jeremy Doku need more from these players, and I think that's going to be the focus this summer as well as recruitment. I think it's really driving these players forward to get more out of them again. If they can get them back to the form that saw them win the treble, then with all these new recruits coming in, it's a scary prospect for everybody else in the Premier League once again, and you're going to have a big smile on your face once again, Mike.
I'm always smiling, you know that, more on Manchester City, and what we believe is that Jack Grealish will not be part of the squad that goes to the Club World Cup in America this month. He didn't have a great season, did he, with the club? And at the end of the campaign, Pep Guardiola was asked about the forward's future.
Why don't ask me about McAtee, for example? It's not about personal. I don't have any problems with the players. If you say I'm selecting, we are in trouble, no trouble, we are not selecting, we are in trouble, it's not about that. It's not about that. I have 24 players. I have to get rid of 6 players last game, today 5, because Kovacic has sent off in the last game. Otherwise, I had 6 players at home. And I treat Jack like I think Jack. Now I think in Kusanov, I think in Victor, I think in McAtee. I think all the players have not been. But it's not anything personal about Jack, absolutely anything. And the person who fought to come here and fought to stay here this season and the previous season, the one that said, I want Jack with me, yes or yes. So now didn't come because didn't come, but not for something else. What happened in the future? Listen, it's a job from Hugo, from Chiqui, and from Dejan, not from me.
Be interesting to see what happens then, of course. Now, time to go around the clubs for your bite-sized Premier League roundup, starting with where? Arsenal, Jack.
Arsenal, the Gunners, and they're in talks with Thomas Partey over extending his contract. Raheem Sterling will be leaving the Emirates and returning to Chelsea at the end of his loan deal.
Now on to Aston Villa. Now, Lille goalkeeper Luca Chevalier is on Aston Villa's radar if Emi Martinez leaves the club. That's according to The Athletic, whilst Tyrone Mings has signed a contract extension with Aston Villa.
Liverpool are growing increasingly confident of signing Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth. He would cost around £40 million and personal terms are not expected to be a problem.
Manchester United have registered their initial interest in Brentford, Brian and Burmo. Contact between the clubs has been established, but formal negotiations are yet to begin. Brentford are willing to listen to offers for the 25-year-old, who they value in excess of £60 million.
Birmingham are set to sign goalkeeper James Beadle from Brighton on a season-long loan.
Burnley are waiting to find out if Josh Brownhill will accept their new long-term contract offer at the club. The 29-year-old's current deal is due to expire at the end of this month.
Chelsea would only make an offer of around £10 million for AC Milan goalkeeper Mike Maignan. He's got 1 year left on his contract with the Italian club. It's possible they make only one signing, though, in Liam Delap during this mini window.
Crystal Palace are expecting to field interest for Eberechi Eze and Adam Walter this summer, but do, crucially, have replacements lined up.
Liverpool winger Ben Doak has made a full recovery from injury amid interest from Everton.
Willian and Carlos Vinicius will leave Fulham when their contracts expire at the end of the month. Tom Cairney and Kenny Tete have been offered new deals by the club, but are yet to decide on their futures.
Leeds will have around £100 million to spend this summer as they look to improve their squad and remain a Premier League outfit.
Liverpool are working on deals for Florian Wirtz and Bournemouth defender Milos Kerkez.
Manchester City have agreed a £46 million deal with AC Milan for central midfielder Tijani Reinders. As it stands, Jack Grealish is not going to the US with Manchester City next week for the Club World Cup, with his future at the club uncertain.
Manchester United are expecting offers for Jadon Sancho, with clubs in the Premier League and Europe interested.
Newcastle United are interested in the Brighton forward João Pedro as they look to add options to their front line.
Nottingham Forest are in talks to sign 3 players from Botafogo, including Brazil striker Igor Jesus.
Sunderland are looking to sign 4 or 5 new players this summer. A deal for Jordan Henderson is not currently being looked into. They're hopeful they can convince Joe Bellingham to stay at the club despite interest from Borussia Dortmund.
Tottenham Hotspur would only listen to significant offers for Son Heung-min. He'll be 33 next month and has 1 year left on his current deal. Spurs would not stand in his way if he decided he wanted a new challenge.
Napoli are targeting a move for West Ham loanee Carlos Soler this summer, and that's according to Sky Italy.
And finally, Wolves want £50 million for their left-back Rayan Aït-Nouri with interest from Manchester City. Pep Guardiola's side want to sign him before the Club World Cup.
Welcome to Sportlab, where we break down the hidden angles in football's biggest headlines. Today, Jack Grealish out of the Club World Cup squad. Is this the end of his Man City chapter? Let's get into it. The news. Sky Sports reporting, Jack Grealish is expected to be left out of Manchester City's 35-man squad for the FIFA Club World Cup in the USA. The squad hasn't been finalised, but as it stands, Grealish isn't travelling. What this signals: Grealish still has 2 years left on his contract, but after a season of limited minutes and injuries, his role has dramatically diminished. City and Grealish's team are expected to explore options this summer. A permanent move is difficult due to his high transfer fee and wages. So a loan deal likely subsidised could be on the table later this summer. Sportlab Insight. What's really going on? Guardiola hinted weeks ago. A solution is being worked out behind the scenes. This omission, it's not just about fitness or form, it's a public signal of transition. With Foden, Doku, and others ahead of him, Grealish is no longer undroppable. The question now isn't if he leaves, it's when, where, and how. Potential destinations. Premier League clubs are monitoring the situation, but finances are tricky. Abroad, Serie A or La Liga loans are a real possibility if City cover part of the wages. So, Jack Grealish, a £100 million star, now on the edge of City's plans. Is this a tactical phase-out, or the beginning of a graceful exit? Drop your thoughts. Where does Grealish fit next season, and should he stay or go? Stay tuned, we'll follow this one all summer long. You're watching Sportlab.